if you worked at Budweiser, if you worked at Anheuser-Busch, and then this whole campaign comes out, and then people are in an uproar, or maybe one side supports it.
Yeah.
But then, like, if your stock drops, if they need to like restructure the company, if things change economically, if you just worked there, even if you knew nothing about Dylan Mulvaney or who that person is, it could impact your job
or your retirement, right?
Thanks for joining us this week on the Elite Sales Podcast. I'm joined in studio this week, Yoel Aynalem, typically behind the running the spaceship, but joining us, as a guest, co-host John Bacaron.
How's it going?
FFL Elite Syndicate. So I actually wanted to today what we're talking about the importance of small business, importance of small business in general, and also what it means to you. So if you guys aren't aware, for the people that are on this team, you have a small business.
Yes.
And I think for some of you really ambitious people, you don't want it to be small.
Right.
You want it to be a big business, but the root of it all starts with a small business. And here's the reason why small business is important. But before I get into that, actually, I wanted to complete a story I was telling you the other night. So just the other day, last week, 2 weeks ago, I had an agent that was upset with me, right?
No.
So then
that story.
I started to tell you all, and this agent was just giving it to me, and he was just like calling me names and all kinds of different stuff. It's whatever it was, it wasn't working out for his business. And I gave him some suggestions. He followed some, chose not to follow others, which, this is not against anything against that agent, but I'm telling a story because he called me, he's like, "You're a phony nice guy." He's like, you're a slack-jawed huckster.
Wow.
Like he called all kinds of really creative names, and
1920s insults.
Slack jaw huckster.
Good day, sir. But he started calling me all these names, and the root of it was because he was frustrated that his business wasn't growing.
Yeah.
I gave him some suggestions. I was like, "Hey, why don't you hop on live dials with us?" He said it wasn't for him. So to each his own. But then, it got to a point where he was clearly upset with me. He starts calling me all these names, and he says, "You're a funny, nice guy. You have this you're just trying to make." Because I just asked him, I'm like, "Okay, you're entitled to however you want to feel. If you feel that way, what can I do to help you from this point?" Right? Because I'm like, obviously I can't help you. So and he was like, he just says like, "I wish, I just wish you weren't so transactional." And the world, I want to live in a world where it's not so things are not so transactional. And I'm like, I don't control the world, buddy. Like, I can only control what I do. So what do you need from me? So, I even offered to help him with some leads at a certain point, but I told him I need these certain conditions to be met.
Yeah.
Just so we can get some results out of it, because it's a two-way street. It's a two-way relationship.
Yeah. But
then, it eventually got to the point where it was just like name calling, and I was just trying to keep it professional. Like, I'm not saying this because I'm trying to paint myself in a good light.
Yeah, you're not a phoney.
I like to think I'm not.
We gotta hear the fake nice guys story, man.
I told the guy, I'm like, "Look, I'm not perfect.
Yeah.
If you're trying to point out bad things that I've done or poor qualities about me, you can find it." I'm like, I'm not discounting that, but I'm just asking, trying to figure out this particular situation. How do we move forward from here?
Right.
And then so eventually we kind of hit a stalemate. I just apologized to him, and I said, "All right, if you ever think of a way I can help, let me know." But it was kind of maybe reflect on this whole small business thing, because the whole time when we had this conversation, and it was not a very productive conversation.
Yeah.
But as we continued on, I was like, okay, you want to blame me for everything that did or didn't happen in your business, which if you want to blame me, that's okay. But even if any of that were true, even if all of that were true, what do you do from here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, my life is still going to be the same.
Yeah.
Like, how does that help you?
Yeah. I think he needs to grow up, honestly. Like, I don't know. I think a lot of people, they interact with people that are nice, but then they think that person's a phony because they can't either take advantage of that person, or that person isn't as aloof as they initially may have thought. Like, for example, maybe the interaction or dynamic that you guys had, you know, he may have like misinterpreted your guys' dynamic as, oh, this guy's giving me this, so I don't need to do anything. I can roll over this guy or whatever it may be. And then you said, oh, no, I'm actually not that guy. You're actually not going to do this to me. And then he's like, whoa, you're being a phony. It's like, no, you just may have assumed a certain dynamic that is actually not the case. You know, so yeah, it's just, you got to like, you know, I think with people, they just need to just, you know, sometimes just grow up and just know that, hey, like, this is a business, this is a professional dynamic and professional relationship. If it can be a friendship and you can be at peace, then great, but if not, that's life.
Yeah, your conversation actually led me to my topic of my meeting, and I went over this before too, but it's all about your locus of control, right? It all comes down to your control. There's external and internal. Okay. Internal locus of control means whatever happens, it's on you. That's your control. External locus of control is you're blaming every other factor and it wasn't your fault. Right. And so if this guy blames everything, it's the leads you gave me. It's what you did for me or what you didn't do for me. He's not taking any accountability for it. And until you take accountability that you are in your own small business, you control all of your small business. So if it's meant to be, it's up to me. And if you internalize that, no matter what happens, people in here, man, there's like the top 10% in the business. Like, dude, it doesn't matter. Market can go down, you know, the leads can dry up. They're gonna make it happen because they have a good internal locus of control.
Yeah, it's funny. Like I was watching this video and there was like a guy that had a really bad relationship with his dad. And his dad apparently was an alcoholic, just really treated him bad. And they had like an awful relationship. And he talked to this this pastor, and you know, he was confiding with this guy. And the guy was like, hey, you know what I think you should do? I think you should apologize to your dad. And the guy was like, what are you talking about? I'm gonna apologize to my dad. Like, he treated me like this. He was so bad to me. And then the pastor was like, you're right, he was. He's like, yeah, I know he was. He's like, yeah, but you guys, he thinks he's right. You're right too. But that's the problem. You guys are both right. Like,
yeah,
if it's someone else's fault and your life is bad and it's all of these external factors, you're right. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't solve the problem. You know, it was a really cool moment.
Right. And I'm not denying, because the thing is, it was kind of a funny insult to be hurling at me, like you're a phony nice guy. Like, my head, I was thinking like, I don't think I'm all that nice. I mean, like, I try to be nice to people. I try to be fair with people. I try to be straight up with people. But you guys know me on outside of business hours. Like, I'm not that nice.
Well,
like,
I'm making known I'm not nice.
No, I think you're nice. I think the dynamic, maybe the initial dynamic that you guys had was, here's this, but he actually maybe didn't actually think there needed to be accountability. You know what I mean? Like, it was kind of like,
Albert, I am just beside myself right now. I'd like to know who this is.
We're not naming any names.
I am. My blood pressure is up right now. Like, I am. What is he? 13.
She's ready to scrap.
He has evidently traded in kind for entitlement. Mm-hmm. He obviously has no kids, no problem, no debt, no real. Goodbye. If you can't handle that, and you have Albert as an upline, and you have problems, you need to go be a hermit somewhere, because you cannot deal with any part of the world if that's the case.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you coming to my defense.
Just got our back.
That is the word. Shame. Shame.
He's actually in your hometown if you want to.
Are you serious?
I'm just kidding.
Trish's about to go door knock right now.
No, we're not naming any names, and like, I'm bringing this up not because like I'm clearly not a victim in this situation.
Yeah.
Or I'm not trying to get anyone to feel bad for me. Like, I'm trying to dissect this whole thing, because, you know, when he made those statements, part of me was like, okay, where is this coming from? Why does he feel this way about me? And then part of me actually reflected upon it. And I'm like, is there any part of this true? Because is there something for me to learn from this? And then, you know, as I start kind of recalling everything, so I brought points up, and he was determined to disagree with me on everything.
Yeah.
So, you know, everything I brought up, he would be like, yeah, but still, and he give me those type of arguments, which, you know, he's entitled to feel everyone. Like I said, it doesn't change who I am unless there's something worth changing in that situation, that type of arrangement. But as you know, it made me really reflect on some of this stuff. And I was just like, yeah, you know, maybe I could improve in certain areas. However, I don't feel that that was the case in this particular situation. So it is what it is. And so I eventually got to the point where I'm like, okay, so I don't know what you want me to do here in this situation. I don't know what you want out of me. I'm like, you're choosing to focus on these things, which I don't agree with, which I don't believe to be true, but you continue to choose to keep this perspective. So I mean, like, if you want to continue to fixate on these things in which I don't agree with, what do you want to do going forward? Because I'm going to continue to work.
Right.
Yeah.
So what do you want to do?
Yeah.
And you know, I think he was upset that I wasn't more upset. So then, you know, so he was upset, which eventually got to the point where I was like, look, I don't know how to else help you. I apologize. You feel this way. You know, I wish you well. Let's move on.
It's funny. But yeah, some people are like, they like to get, sometimes they like to get
The
that
last
feeling of, yeah, like they like to get in your head, kind of like they like to, that feeling of
make you
like,
feel guilty or something.
yeah, like it gives them that resolve for some reason.
Like maybe a younger version of me, I probably would have been like, all right, let's just fight. Let's just handle this. But I guess I got to this point where I'm like, I know clearly he's frustrated.
Yeah.
And what's the source of his frustration? Did he want results to be better? Yeah, but so did I. And like, you know, I gave some suggestions. He actually told me how to train better. And I'm like, you're basing this on what?
Yeah.
Like,
When a person's
trying.
experience.
Well,
Yeah.
not even try, like not even doing what you're instructed.
Yeah.
Like I'm not instructing right, but you're not following the instructions.
Nor yours is theoretical.
Yeah.
I've actually done it.
Yeah. The thing is, it always comes back from a zero blame game on the individual. So everything has to be moved around because there's no blame on this side. Right.
Yeah.
So you didn't train better. That's why I didn't get my results.
Well, I mean, his thing was you didn't take into account that I don't have no sales experience, and I'm like, bruh, hardly anyone has sales experience. It's a new experience to everybody.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, I acknowledge there's a different learning curve. I acknowledge people learn in different ways. I acknowledge that people, you know, see things differently, and this is what our productive conversation should be about, for us to figure out how do we tailor this to help you. And
But that's a telling sign though. Like in our business, you know, you got to have tenacity, you got to have perseverance, but you cannot have that if you're blaming everything else and you're not taking control and ownership of your business.
Yeah.
Right. It's like no matter what, we get this a lot, right? We get people asking for a different upline. We get people asking to move to different teams. What's your upline got to do with you going to work? Your upline don't make you money. You make you money.
Yeah.
So when you blame external factors because you didn't get spoon fed, you didn't get the hand holding, you didn't get the additional training, you can go online. You can go on live dials. You can go on YouTube. Right.
like, here's the thing. I mean, like, if someone's running 20, 30 appointments in a week and they don't get any results, then I'd be like, yeah, maybe I can't help you. Maybe it's above my head, which that's never going to happen. If
No.
someone's running 20, 30 appointments, they're going to sell.
Dude,
And that's the bottom line.
Sales won't land in
Comes
your
down to
lap.
activity.
Yeah.
Results may vary. Disclaimer.
I mean,
it
we're going to get
always,
production.
always goes back to activity. Always. It I don't care what question or rebuttal or rejection. It's like every time he said something, you should have said, okay, how many door knocks, how many calls did you make this week? How many people did you talk to today? When you were at the last restaurant you were at, did you introduce yourself? Did you try to ask them about what they were doing? I mean, like, if you're not talking to people constantly and working constantly, how can you think you're going to be successful in this? I mean, I literally am past exhausted from talking to people about this all the time. I'm in the grocery store right now to get some last minute stuff. I'm going to take it home. I'm going to cook. And then I'm going back out 20 minutes from my house to run an appointment.
Nice.
And I have a blended family. I'm fat. I'm in my 40s. I'm tired.
Don't say that.
Okay. And I am so like the spoiled brat that called you. Goodbye. If you can't make it through something like that, and Jean is spot on. He's deflecting everything that he knows is wrong with himself. You were just the one that answered the phone.
Yeah.
You were the one that answered the phone. It was going to be somebody else if you didn't. So that's just terrible.
I mean,
But you know what?
it's unfortunate that we'll never get a chance to fix that situation. Because I mean, I didn't give up on the guy, but then also I'm like, he's not going to be worth my time if that's the attitude that's going to prevail, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I
not
can't help him.
and just to that, like this is a sales position. This is an entrepreneurship individual position. Like not everyone's cut out for this, you know. People sometimes needed to be like, where's the training manual? Give me this. Let me follow it to the T. Let me not expand and wing it and type of things, right? So when you have that type of individual, even if this situation was fixed in the interim, how many more times will that happen when that personality will continue to pop up? That's not the type of people we want. That's not the type of people you should recruit. But it's really good for you to identify that immediately so that you don't want those headaches. You don't want those drama queens.
Right. Plus, I mean, aside from the fact that he was lobbing a bunch of insults and then like questioning my methods and then even nitpicking little things that he misrepresented that wasn't how things happen. I was listening to the whole thing. I chose not to escalate the situation because I'm like, he's determined to find fault with me. So it is what it is. But part of me was just thinking like, okay, so even if some or all of this was true, is none of this of your business, your responsibility? Like it really is on me.
Yeah.
And you know, Trisha, I appreciate you, coming to my defense, even though it's not necessarily needed in this case, but I appreciate you just taking that position because that actually represents why you are a top producer within the agency. That represents why you continue to produce at high levels consistently because you take personal responsibility for everything.
Yeah, you didn't take no BS. No BS, Trish.
Yeah.
Well, I think that there's so many people that get into this and they haven't had a real world atmosphere. I came from the car business in North County of St. Louis. This is like paradise. It's just there's no gratefulness of what it really could be and how bad it could be. And going back to, John, you were talking about we'll go online and all the training and it's all good, whatever. But the training does not teach you how to be active or persevere. And I think that's like going forward this year, like when I look to hire folks, that's like a big thing that I'm looking for is, yes, we all need a little or more training than others, but how bad do you really want to do this? Like, really, like if you don't really badly want to do it, then maybe we need to reevaluate the nature of our relationship.
Yeah, those are good interview questions to asking about, like, what's the hardship that you've overcome in the last like month or a year or something that you're really proud of, that you persevered about.
But you know what I come to learn in 17 plus years of being in insurance and building an agency? What you ask people during interviews,
They lie.
not all
It
that
doesn't
important.
matter.
They tell you what they think you want to hear,
Yeah.
or they tell you what they may genuinely believe it.
Yeah.
But then I guess over the course of time, this is where you show who you really are.
Right.
Yeah.
Consistently, what you continuously do, what you consistently show, your character over the course of time. And like, because this guy was like insulting my character, which generally I'm not. I don't take it where like if it's a personal situation, like we're fighting, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But then in that situation, I'm like, okay, well, look, maybe it's true. Like, however you want to see it, but this is over the course of time. You'll prove whether or not that's true.
Yeah.
And that's all I'm really concerned.
It's probably ego too. Like a lot of it is ego of like not wanting to fail in front of others or like, oh, I know this, I know how to do this. And like, it's their own like frustration of, maybe having to start over, or, it could be a lot of things, but I think a lot of it is ego.
Yeah.
Because he's trying to tell you what to do. Like maybe he had a really great position, he lost it, and now he's like, he can't reconcile the fact that, he's having to learn something new. You never know.
Or I mean, yeah, it's a blow to the ego sometimes if you're trying something and you feel like you're giving it your best effort.
Yeah.
And then you don't get results, then yeah, I mean it's frustrating. And I share that frustration and for that part of it. But as far as everything else, I'm like, yeah, we'll just agree to disagree on the rest of that situation. So enough with that. I mean, and if that agent's watching, which I highly doubt in this situation, but if you are, I wish you much luck. I hope some of this stuff, and if you ever want to talk on a calm, rational level, I'm always down.
Right. So, what about boxing?
Yeah,
It's like a
several in the ring.
Yeah.
You can do that.
It's like a YouTuber like apology video. Like
No. I really hope I'm not trying to paint myself in a victim light whatsoever. I'm just try and bring this up because it kind of dovetails into our next topic, which is about why small business is important. You know, small businesses are important because number one, for all of us that are small business owners, you know, that's how you generate your income.
Yeah.
That's where you develop your professional reputation. That's where you prove whether or not you understand how this capitalism game works or not.
Yeah.
You know, because the thing is, regardless of how your results may turn out, there's people in this business making money.
Yeah.
There's always successful people, just about every industry that's lasting. And insurance industry, it's one of the most profitable industries in the entire world, right? In the economy. So when it comes to, and part of the reason why I was thinking about all this, we were talking, we have a group chat in which we were discussing some like political issues and social issues, and you know, some of the stuff that came up, and like obviously some of it's, you know, just on a very, you know, fun level.
Yeah.
But then part of it we're just trying to understand, which we don't have the answers. But then we're talking about, you know, the SVB and the bank runs.
Mhm.
We're talking about Bud Light and this whole like outrage over Dylan Mulvaney, you know, being named as a spokesperson, and then we're talking about COVID regulations and population control and all kinds of like pretty unproductive stuff. Right? So it doesn't pertain to our day-to-day life. And part of the reason why it doesn't pertain to our day-to-day life is because we run small businesses respectively. Right.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, if you think about, regardless, and this is not to make this whole thing political. I mean, regardless of however you feel about it, and you're entitled to your feelings. If you worked at Budweiser, if you worked at Anheuser-Busch, and then this whole campaign comes out, and then people are in an uproar, or maybe one side supports it.
Yeah.
But then, like, if your stock drops, if they need to like restructure the company, if things change economically, if you just worked there, even if you knew nothing about Dylan Mulvaney or who that person is, it could impact your job.
Yeah.
Or your retirement, right?
Yeah.
Well, also it affects how you, like, for me, I have a lot of friends that work in the corporate world, right? They work, you know, at schools, they work in like big, you know, agencies and big, you know, what do you call it? Like Fortune 500 companies, right?
Yeah.
Because, you know, they hire the most people, or no, they don't, but a lot of my friends were. And like, there's certain subjects that they just don't talk about because they're scared. Because when you work for these big companies, they have a certain narrative that they're trying to push. And if you don't fall in line to their kind of narrative, then people look at you funny at the office. They, you know, those Slack conversations are a little bit different. So I think for all of us, you know, for me, obviously I'm media and have my own media thing going on. We all kind of are our own bosses. Like no one's going to fire you for having an opinion that, you know, doesn't align with someone else's. You know, it's just, you can be free. And I think like maybe a lot of us take that for granted. Maybe we don't use our voice for good or to communicate our viewpoints. But, you know, I think that should not be overlooked, because a lot of people are biting their tongues because, you know, they may have bought that house. They may have, you know, just signed that lease for that car. And, you know, if they say the wrong thing, you know, they don't have the savings.
You're talking to
get
HR.
fired, you know, exactly. Like it's just real.
Yeah.
So I think we should all be super grateful that we're able to control our own destiny.
Yeah.
There are so many things. There are so many things you cannot say to your clients either. We think we work for ourselves, which we do, but if you have a client, you got to be very politically correct about everything else too. So I kind of disagree with that, because I've been corporate myself for several years, and then I also work for myself.
So
the difference is the same. One is where you're a subordinate. One is where you are, you know, you're the sales guy.
For sure. So say you did disagree with your client, what would happen?
Well, the client may not want to buy the product from you. Right?
Yeah, and also how often is that really going to happen? Like how often is that conversation?
That's besides the point. The whole idea here is that you got to be careful, because if you're not careful, the chances are you will lose the client. And that's the reason a lot of times, like for example, Albert just told us the story about this guy. He could have been rude to him. He was not a client, but still, he was nice to him. So we have to be nice in a lot of ways sometimes, just even though we don't agree with them at times. There are times where during the Zoom meetings, I want to just tell them something that I just don't want, like, you know, I want to tell them, but I will not tell them. So
For
You
sure.
still have
Being,
to be
mean,
tactful,
yeah,
of course.
being respectful, being, professional is never out of the question. That should always be the case.
right, but you can be respectful and still tell what you want, but they'll still want to disagree, then they'll want to disagree. That's the whole thing. You
Yeah,
could be
of
right and
course.
still be wrong. That's what we're gonna get. And not trying to make this an argument, but I
No,
have
no, it's
realized
all
that over
good.
time, especially on social media, I've noticed that a lot. This
Oh, yeah.
morning I got a message from one of the social media friends. She's like, you don't like me. I'm like, I'm just commenting to your post, not to you. And
Yeah.
it was one of those things. But I understand that, it's easier to be when you're working for yourself. And if you say, let's say if you lose a client, it's kind of okay in a way compared to losing a job where you have really worked hard towards, and you say something that makes sense, but someone will disagree with you, and then it might cost you. So
No, I think that's beautiful. I think that's, I mean, even that conversation you had with your friend is super important, right? Because then you got a little bit of clarity. They knew what you were coming from, and vice versa. So I think that that's kind of where the direction that I'm going is like, some people are even scared to have those types of conversations. So, you should always be respectful and not bring up things that are offensive, just for the sake of it. But if you have an opinion or feel strongly about something, then having discourse is always something that's super important. But a lot of the
This
times people are
is
scared.
this is such a main point because, like, I'm not saying I'm super successful in productivity, but one thing I am super successful in is finding the road blockages and trying to find the leadership skills to get out of the road blockages I put on myself. So that is this is such a collection of knowledge that we're coming together with, because like, I'm very provocative. It gets the people going, they say that, like, but that gets in the way of my business so much, because I'll be in the club and I'll be working and I'll be doing what I have to do. And a guy will literally say, oh yeah, I was so interested in clicking on your link, but my wife, if she were to see that I was doing business with you, she would kind of get confused on why I'm doing such a morally correct thing. And then she sees your body and she's just like, why are you talking? Yeah, so that's a really big thing. It's like, this is what I really love about Sean Mike, is that he really is like sitting in a throne and like saying, okay, well, let's see who you are. And when you see yourself, are you going to have the integrity and the leadership to change it? Or are you going to continue to look at your faults and let your faults get in the way of you progressing and being actually successful? I just needed to say my piece. Okay.
Appreciate your thoughts. And I agree. I think both of you guys have made really good points.
Yeah, I agree.
Because the thing is, just because you have your own business doesn't mean you have free license to say whatever the hell you want.
Yeah.
That's not this point. And it's also you should still be socially responsible for the people that you care about you're impacting or you care about having a relationship with. But it's true. I mean, like, the thing is, certain times you don't need to share everything.
Yeah.
It's like, we had a coworker. He wanted to go do a presentation for insurance, presents to the client, gets to the close. This is John Franklin. And then he brings up his football team. And then the other guy had a rival football team, and he's like, I don't want to take it. And he
No
canceled
way.
the policy, or he canceled the sale strictly for just something like that. Something as silly as that. You never know who you're dealing with.
Oh.
So
Well, that's important. I'm just kidding.
but to your small business though, if you can fine tune your small business, right? It's your business.
Yeah.
You can choose your clients. You can choose the direction you want to go. Maybe you're rubbing the wrong people in the wrong way. Okay, delete them.
maybe that's not your clientele anyway. Right?
Exactly. Find the right niche in your business that you connect to. Think of like an Italian restaurant. What do they sell? They sell Italian food, right? Are they attracting Asian food clients? They're going to attract people that want Italian food. Now, if you can specialize that, you have like something great about your product, you're going to attract those type of customers, right? So think about it in our business. We have so many that we can work on, from final expense to IUL, from the Medicare side, all of these things. If you can fine tune, get really, really great at it, you're going to find the right clients and they're going to keep coming to you.
And you want to rub the right people the right way. You know what I'm
Attract
saying?
people the right
Yeah, yeah, that's what I mean.
It's not rubbing, man. What kind of rubbing?
Not like that.
Business you're trying to do.
Just have your head in the gutter. You guys need to relax. No, I think it's good, because if you're doing business with people that, really ride for you, that you can be yourself around, like that's huge. You spend so much time working that wouldn't you want to be around people and do business with people that, see life at least somewhat similar to you, or at least respect the differences that you have with them. I think that's incredible.
Yeah,
Well, there's always a market. There's always a market out there for whatever it is you're selling. I mean, look at Charles Manson. He had women wanting like throwing themselves at him while he's in prison after committing serial murders, right?
Because of his interviews and stuff, right?
Guys,
you
I
never
have
know.
to intervene. I have to jump off. I love this call. They're all your clients, and and I appreciate the last two people that were speaking. They're newer, and I really respect everybody's views. But I'm going to tell you, you're selling yourself.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter the product. So you cover everybody with kindness, and you solve their problem. You don't talk about politics, and you keep it kind, and they fall in love with you. And it doesn't matter what you're selling. It doesn't matter how much it is. They're going to remember Jean. They're going to remember Yo-Yo. They're going to remember Albert, because you meant something at that moment in their life. And then the money and the product and all that falls in stride. And the young lady that was just on there, if you've got, and I couldn't see you, but if you've got it going on, God gave it to you. Use it to your advantage. And if he says, well, my wife, well, invite the wife right on in. Well, who's your wife? Let's get her involved too, right? Always make it a party with everybody, and be kind to all of them. And if you can stay away from politics, everybody's got their own opinion. It's not more important than the sale or solving their issue. It's just not. We're in a business. We're there to do that. We're there to problem solve and help families. And sometimes you just got to put that on the shelf for a few minutes and bite your tongue. It's okay. You know what I mean? When you leave that house or that call, it's not going to make a difference in your life anyway. I'm always mama bird. So there you go.
We needed that.
Yep.
We need some feminine energy.
I know.
Feminine energy.
Well, so I mean, yeah, as far as your political views or how you view social issues, look, you're entitled to however you feel. And if you choose to express yourself that way, you're also welcome to do so. However, the thing is, you got to look at your business.
Yeah.
If it starts impacting your business adversely, then you may consider changing some of those things. If it doesn't matter to you, do you? Right? Right. That's the thing. Because for a lot of people, I mean, if you look at, I was a Ferrari or Lamborghini. One of them said they don't advertise at all.
Yeah.
Because that's not the clientele that they're seeking to find. People that consume advertisements, people that sit around and watch TV. That's not their market. So the thing is, you can make whatever choices you want in your particular business if you have control over your business. If you're an employee at a big corporation, a Fortune 500, Fortune 100 company, you're subject to whatever they tell you.
You're at their mercy.
Yep. So, I mean, and maybe it may not be fair, but guess what? Life's not fair.
It's not fair. It's not fair. Change it.
You either fall in line or you get out. That's
You
it.
can't complain. That I think drives me crazy. The people that complain but won't change it. Like you have the power to change it. Saying
right. And then not to get into the political side of this, but we're talking about big businesses, and if you're an employee and you work for somebody and you're subject to someone else's control, I mean, even if it's a corporation, even if it's not necessarily their rules, I mean, we look at strange time that we've been living in. We saw these videos of the world when it stood still. There's no one's outside. Everyone's like quarantined or sheltering at home or whatever they want to call it, right?
Mm-hmm.
However you feel about it, it happened.
yeah.
And the thing is, the corporations or your company, they may have some regulations. They may choose to enforce something, and some of them didn't even have a choice. Some of them was like the government said, we're going to fine you, or whatever government agency said, this is going to happen if you don't do this. So, I mean, we're all subject to some type of control if you work for somebody else and you are part of another company. Owning a small business, I have a small business. I'm trying to make it into a big business, but I technically have a small business.
Right.
So the thing is, during the height of COVID, when everything was shut down, we're talking about how, hey, there's no bars open. We can't go in there. Restaurants were only delivering, and most of them were shut down during that time. And then, my heart goes out to all the small business owners during that time that they went under.
Yeah.
Right. most corporations survived because they had the luxury of either government assistance or whatever the case may be, or So even without getting into all that, I mean, looking at how these external factors could impact you, whether you're part of it or not, if you're subject to someone else's control. This is why running a small business that provides value is vitally important. Like even during that time, let's put the insurance part aside. Let's say during the height of COVID, they're shutting everything down. If your toilet gets clogged, if you need to call a plumber's still going to work during that time, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So that person found a trade that provides value no matter what the economy looks like. Like everyone's going to have to continue to go number one and number two, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's recession proof.
And what's funny is some restaurants did, like, it's some restaurants in Orange County in a bar that, I went to during COVID. No,
Violator.
I know. Like they stayed open. Like some people were just like, some restaurants, were like, screw you. Like, this is my business. I've worked hard for it. I'm a red-blooded American just like everybody else, and I have the right to, keep my business open. And I respect that. You know what I'm saying? Whatever you say about, a lot of businesses went under.
Yep.
No one gave them any assistance. And, the people that stayed open, they stayed open. You can, it's just how it is. They took control of their life, which is really cool. So I think, if you have your own small business, you can not, I'm not going to say break the law, because we have a cop in our group. No, I'm just kidding. But you got to own up to take responsibility for your life, and whatever happens.
Well, that's an interesting point you brought up, because here in LA, there's people that are trying to throw parties up in Hollywood Hills, and there's these influencers, and they're and so like
Governor.
The mayor actually went and had the power shut off.
Yeah.
At that place, just because like they said, hey, you're gathering more people than, and this whole thing's not against, like an anti-government, controlling thing. But my point is, in Orange County, yes, there was a lot of bars that were open. There was a lot of restaurants that stayed open throughout, and then they didn't mask up, they didn't do anything else. And the thing about Orange County is there's a lot of private money.
Yep.
In Orange County, there's a lot of private wealth. The county or the state or certain cities have filed for bankruptcy many times during that time, but there's a ton of money down there. It's all private money. These people have their own businesses, or they're independently wealthy, or they took care of their own business. Right. So the thing is, they couldn't, like, who's going to go down there and shut them down? Right. If they say like, hey, we're going to find you, like, we run our own businesses, what are you really going to do?
Right.
Yeah.
So, there's that one strip down in Huntington Beach we went to. Everything was open. Bars were crowded.
Main Street.
Yeah.
So that goes to show like how important it is for you, if you don't like the world around you, you don't like certain conditions around you. The only way you're really going to have a voice is to take your business seriously and to put in that work, figure out a plan, and continue to grow it.
Yeah.
Because you can complain from the bottom, your voice is going to be muted for the most part. Right?
Yeah.
Not going to be taken very seriously. So if you really want to make a difference, I mean, take care of your own business first.
Yeah. When you turn it to a big business, like look what's happening in the bigger scale of things. Like I remember Tesla, they wanted to stay open. The governor of California wanted to shut them down. And you know what he did? Well, I'm going to move to Texas.
Yeah.
He threatened to move to Texas. He got a permission and he got a grant to be able to open up.
Yeah. And he still moved to Austin, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when regulations and control happens, if you are a business and you turn it to such a big business, you have an ability to just relocate.
Yeah, you have options. Like for me, like I was doing my taxes, and I have an LLC that I run all like the media stuff that I do, like editing everything, like even stuff here. And like I told the guy, because every year in LA or in California, if you have an LLC, that you have to pay an $800 LLC tax, like just off top, even if you took a loss, no matter what. So I was like, man, I don't want to do this anymore. He's like, hey, you can, register it somewhere else. I was like, yeah, let's go to like Wyoming. So I registered my new LLC in Wyoming because I didn't want to pay that, and there's no state tax.
You got a PO box out there? Or
Yeah, I
something?
have a registered agent.
The IRS is furiously taking notes right
I mean, it's legal. See, that's the thing.
His name is
like,
Yoel.
it's legal. I'm not hiding anything. But no, that's the nice thing about being in America and having your own business. You can kind of play by those rules that people play by, right? Which is try to figure out different ways to do things. that
Same thing with
benefit
your real estate, right? Your domicile if compared to living in California versus like living in Nevada or Florida.
you. Yeah. Play the system.
Well, I mean,
Everyone
so
else is doing it.
all these things. I mean, Pierce was on there telling us about it,
But
like
the car
just
thing,
car thing,
Yeah.
which I thought I was like, hey, this is gold. But this is all for all of us as small business owners, because the thing is, there's no instruction manual say like, hey, this is every step you need to take to get to that point, because there's a lot of different ways to do it.
Yeah.
And then the people that have had a ton of success, I mean, they built it into a big company, and you're kind of their competition. They're probably not going to be sharing that information with you. So, but the thing is, it's out there. And the thing is, if you're willing to put in the work and you're willing to, put in the time, you can figure out a way to make it work. But the thing is, if your business is not working the way that you want, if you're not getting the results that you want, I mean, reflect a little bit. Think about it. Have you done everything that you could possibly do to help your business get to where you want it to be?
Yeah.
Right.
I think that's the next step for me. Like for me, the way I see my business, okay, it's starting from a small business, but as soon as you turn to a big enough business, you got to lawyer up, right?
Yeah.
You got to create like LLCs, entities, and lawsuits, things that can happen. And I think that's my next phase. Like, all right, maybe I'll need lawyers soon.
God
Yeah.
bless America.
Because like what you
got
said,
rich people problem.
the information is out there. Either you're going to do the research or just pay somebody else that's already known about it.
Yeah.
An accountant, a lawyer. What's happening? How do I make more money? How do I keep more money? All right.
Yeah, I mean, which kind of brings me to sometimes like I'll talk to agents that come on board, and they'll be like, hey, how'd you build an agency up to this point, and blah blah blah, or what have you been selling? And I said, my main thing when I came in was the focus on building.
Yeah.
And then when agents are struggling selling, sometimes they're like, oh, I want to do that too, right? And I'm like, okay, why don't you then? Right. So
Costs money.
sometimes people are putting the cart before the horse.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm nothing special, but the thing is, I've been in the industry for 17 plus years. I've learned some skills along the way to know how to build it a certain way, and I had a vision of how I want to do it. But if you come in and your thing is you got to make money, you got to figure out how to sell, and it's not really figuring out how to sell. It's more about figuring out how to work, create a system in which you can stick to, schedule, have a source of inventory that comes in, whether it's buying leads. If you want to do the warm market thing, you can do the warm market thing for a bit, but you got to figure out a system that ongoing brings you activity that generates you revenue.
Yeah.
And if you can't do that, or you don't want to do that, because I think most people say like, oh, I don't like calling, I don't like being on the phone, I don't like calling, and it's like, okay, well, if you don't want to do that, you can pay someone to do that, but how are you going to pay someone to do that?
Yeah.
Where did that money come from? So that's the golden question.
Yeah, and sometimes when you think about that process, you're not even thinking big business. You're not even thinking about the business. You're just thinking about one small process of your business, right? So when we went down to Santa Ana one time, it really clicked to me. Us three actually went into an investment venture with this company, right? My Green Network. And so this company, it's a kitchen. It's a kitchen where people would come in and be able to use their kitchen like an Airbnb style, right? But for them to use their kitchen, they have all the tools, they have all the things. They want to create a product for food, edibles, whatever. Before they come in there, they interview them and they say, what is your formulations? Okay, it's like, what is your business structure? What do you got? What's your formula to make this? How are you going to magnify this business? How are you going to scale it? Who are you going to sell to? How do you do marketing? What's all that involved? Not the process of cooking, right? When you're thinking about our business, you're complaining about dialing. That's part of the cooking. Well, what about your business? How do I get clients? How do I reach my clients? Where is my profit? How do I continue to make profit? How do I grow my team? These are the big picture questions we got to ask to run your business, not about what do I say on my next dial? What do I say if they say this?
Yeah, like I think Kevin O'Leary in an interview one time said like most people have the product and service, but the issue is they can't get their customer acquisition costs low enough to a point where they're profitable. So if you look at like, I never lost that, like, because it made things so simple, right? Like in this, I mean, in life insurance, you have the product. So now, okay, now I need to get customers.
Mm-hmm.
It's super simple. Like everything else doesn't actually matter if you have those two things: product, which is already said and done, and the way to acquire new customers. You know what I'm saying? That's it.
Yeah.
A consistent way to acquire new customers.
Well, isn't that the crazier thing about our industry? to sell our products, you don't need to go and purchase it in advance. Like with the CBD company,
Yeah.
if you want to grow that thing, you gotta have to go purchase the inventory, figure out how to make it into sellable units.
Yep.
And then figure out and then market it.
Dude, their minimum
And the
requirement.
distribution and all the other steps. Like you have to go through all those steps. And with insurance, you don't even need the product first. Like get appointed with a carrier,
Yeah.
you're licensed to sell their products. Boom, that's all you need.
Their minimum requirement says you need 100,000, 50,000 to make it, 50,000 to market it. And if you don't have that, you're out.
For
Like CBD
for my
company.
green network.
Yeah, to start off. That's their like suggested stuff. Like
Makes
people
sense.
like think about it, like to buy a Burger King, a McDonald's, an In-N-Out, to a franchise, that you need a lot of money and capital to start it off, to start making money. Same thing with real estates, right?
Yeah.
You need a lot of capital to buy their real estate to make some passive income from it. What do we need?
I've been a Subway
License.
franchisee. I had 2 Subways back in the day.
Hey,
I started one from scratch, which is a vanilla box, which was a great experience. And the second one that I bought around 3 years later was something that was running down. Well, it was a rundown business. And I've turned it around within 3 months. And that's when I realized, I'm like, you know what? I'll go for the rundown stores. And at that time, I was a realtor. I mean, I still have my real estate license. I was also a loan officer too. So I figured that, I'll start consulting for Subway folks, like Subways, people who are interested in Subway franchise, and also get them loans as well. But too bad, the real estate recession was right around the corner. So that whole thing shattered. But to your point of the franchise, yeah, it's a lot of work, a lot of hassle. Retail business not as easy as people think it is.
a lot of variables.
Yeah.
A lot of areas, especially
And-
the biggest problem that I've noticed, that I've realized, is the employees. Even if you had a 70%, if 70% of your workforce was great, you could have multiple locations. But it's the other way around, where it's 70% is always like it's a high turnover, so it's not
Yeah.
fun.
And even though that Subway obviously had a formula that works,
Yeah.
they have a pretty good plan set in place, and they have the infrastructure and everything else, but it's not easy, right?
It's not easy. There's a couple of fine prints, and at the end of the day, you have to follow rules, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
So
it's tough.
then that makes you think, okay, well, why not just remove the Subway sign and have something similar, which you guys go to all the time, a mom and pop sandwich shop, just multiply it by 20. And then eventually call it a franchise, and you can have your own attorneys and your own corporation, right?
There you go.
Well,
No
that's
money,
what-
many
yeah.
problems.
Like one of
You know the
Raul-
game.
Raul, he's the guy that owns the no, it's a different one. He owns the
Boxing?
UFC.
Oh yeah. Anaya.
So yeah, he has a UFC gym, and what he did is he just had the UFC gym for a little bit, and then he's like, okay, I'm giving up the licensing, and then he just
Turn
you know,
into his.
yeah, he
name.
just turns it into his own. He brands it himself, Hardworks Fitness. So a lot of people do that, where it's like they use the franchise as like a to create the system, and then once they have it established, they're just like, screw you, we don't need the branding anymore, and then they just keep it. He kept the same colors too.
off
I was
brand,
like,
off
nice.
brand, baby.
Smart, same clientele, but like they're siphoning a lot of money like every month, right, for franchise fees. Like that's that.
Yeah,
that's
it's a
business.
royalty that you pay on sales, and then of course there's initial franchise fee. For example, I'm still a franchisee because I already paid it like 20 years ago, so I can open up a Subway anytime I wanted to. So yeah, I'm still a franchisee, but then you have royalty. I think Subway is at 13% right now. When I was a franchisee, I think it was 11%, something like that.
That's wild.
Well, I
One of
think
the
that's
highest, yeah.
that's a great point, but there's always like a give and take. So the thing is, it's a business relationship, and by you being a franchisee, yeah, you got to pay your franchising fee, but the thing is, you get their marketing.
Yes.
Mhm.
I mean,
So-
it's a short shot basically, because the location opens and you're making money from day one. People know that Subway is already here because they already have a sign posted a couple of months before it even starts. And that's the strategy, right? So people see the Subway sign all the time, and they're like, "Oh, Subway coming soon," or anything else too. So, but yeah, that's a great deal. That's a great thing about it. But the only thing is that I don't think most of the franchises are as supportive as you would expect them to be.
Mm.
And Subway is one of them.
Oh, it's not supportive.
It's not as supportive now.
Oh, okay.
And also you're competing with your own brand. Like there's no rule of where can you open the Subway.
I see.
And being a dumb franchisee, which I was thousands of them, one of the thousands of them, where we don't read the agreement. We don't have an attorney do that. I mean, we don't carry one. And then next thing you know, they're opening up a Subway franchise literally 4 blocks away from you. I had 4 around me for my second one, 4 around me. So I was the 5th one within a mile range. And if you look at McDonald's, they're usually 2 miles apart.
I remember back in the day, Starbucks had like Starbucks across each other.
Yeah, but see, Starbucks is not a franchise. You can have 10 Starbucks within, like when I used to be corporate, back in the day, I was working at, in a high-rise building. There was a Starbucks right there. And then there's a Starbucks literally across the street. So it doesn't matter to
Demand is
them.
there. I mean, right? Like if the demand is there and you can keep the
Demand's there, plus it's not a franchise. It goes to one company, so it doesn't really matter.
Making money.
Well, the market will determine that in most situations.
yeah.
In our situation, it's just like just like with the Subway, just like with the franchisee, just like with any other type of business, it's not designed to be easy. I mean, not
Right.
designed to be easy if you want it to last long term. Because even if you think you got it all figured out, things change.
Yep.
Yeah.
The economy changes. The times change. Regulations change. Stuff happens. But the thing is, if you're really committed to making it work, and someone's going to make that money. Some business is going to go out there and they're going to succeed. So you have to make that decision for yourself. How badly do you want your small business to actually work?
Yeah.
And what are you willing to commit to it? And what are you willing to adjust with it along the way? And if you're going to give up at the first sign of it being difficult, I mean, I hate to break the bad news to you, but not only will not work here, it's not going to work in any big endeavor you ever want to accomplish because it's designed to be tough. If it was easy, everyone would be doing it. And it would be undervalued at that point anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. It really just makes a difference on like how big picture you can think about it. And we make it so simple, we make it so easy, and how fast we can make money that we kind of take it for granted of how big you can really make this. Like just even the fact that you can hire and recruit without completely going hand holding across the state to a different state, all of the United States, and how big we can make FFL be.
Right.
It's crazy.
Especially with today's technology, you can do so much.
That's right.
I just wish they mandated life insurance to people. I don't know why, like auto and home.
We would be out of business. It'll
Really?
go
You think so?
If they mandated it.
Yeah, there'll be like 4 main corporations, just like the gas stations and stuff.
Well, the
That's
thing
why-
is, being a PNC agent, that I do PNC as well, of course, which I think one of you guys know at least. And I mean, of course, I see competition all the time, but at the end of the day, I mean, I see it this way. Yes, I make good money with that, and also the fact that everyone's secured that way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And it really helps when you really get into an accident or a situation where, so same thing with life insurance and annuities too. It's long term. It helps you when you really need it. So why not
People can't
mandate it
afford it.
with
I mean,
minimum death benefit?
Well, when whether it's life insurance is mandated or not, I think there's still always going to be a market share out there,
Yes,
for
exactly.
the consumer.
Yeah,
So, and the thing is,
Yeah.
we look at food. Everyone needs to eat,
yeah.
but there's tons of different restaurants out there, and then people make their decisions based off of who markets better, who has good customer service, what their prices are. I
Absolutely.
mean, lots of different factors, and that's us as individual business owners. Our decision to figure out how do I make my business grow to the maximum capacity in which I'm willing to work for. Because the thing is, you can't be like, hey, I want to go and run this as big as a McDonald's if you don't have that work ethic.
Yeah.
If you don't have that vision, if you don't have you don't want to invest and risk that much into it. So, we all got to make that decision for ourselves. So as a small business owner, from one small business owner to all of you guys out there, I mean, I'm just challenging all of you guys, let's make sure that regardless of how you feel about any of the political issues out there, any of these social issues out there, they're going to continue to exist, whether, regardless of our opinions. So the thing is, how do we get a bigger voice for ourselves? How do we make a bigger impact? We got to handle our own business first. So let's make sure that as small business owners, let's go do the most that we can. Let's commit to whatever you want to get out of it, and then continue to grow, continue to flourish, continue to help the people around you, and just continue to grow. And then if we can do that, we have a lot more control that we can potentially make an impact on the things that may not be that big of a difference at that point because we're so immersed in what we do. But to have those options is always going to be nice.
Being for yourself, you'll have a voice.
That's right.
Right.
And then if you don't do anything, you have no voice.
No.
And undeservedly so. So hope that helps. Let's go out there. Let's focus on your business. Let's get it to where you want to be. If you guys need help, please do reach out. Appreciate Yoel, appreciate John for sharing, all of you guys for hopping on and sharing, Bar for guest producing today.
Good job, Bar.
So let's go out there. Let's continue to push your small business. Let's make an impact in our communities, in our overall society, and let's go be elite, guys.
Sounds good. Adios.